Welcome, everyone, and hello. Welcome to today's webinar on how to sell almost anything to anybody and feel good about yourself. I'm Bob Hogan, the webinar coordinator and a business mentor here at SCORE in Fairfield County, and I'll be your host. Our presenter today is Cliff Ennico, and more about Cliff in just a minute, but first some brief information on SCORE. SCORE is a national organization, and we have 320 chapters across the country and over 11,000 volunteers. Locally here in SCORE Fairfield County, we have 130 plus volunteers with a wide range of industry, process, and subject matter expertise. And we offer services really in three areas to small business owners. We offer one-on-one counseling, and that can either be by face-to-face, telephone, email, Skype. We offer a wide range of educational workshops and webinars like we're doing today. In fact, we offer about close to 200 throughout the year. Thirdly, we have extensive resources on our website, which includes access to a network of subject matter experts. Our next webinar will be 2 weeks from today on October the 16th when Bud Freund will present digital marketing, and the topic there would be do-it-yourself digital imaging. And you can find more specifics on that on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org. As usual, we've set aside time for Q&A at the end of the presentation. But if you have a question, you can use the chat window in the lower left-hand side of your screen at any time during the presentation. And we will take questions at the end of the presentation and may take some during that depending on what Cliff wants to do. We will respect your time, and the webinar today will end at 1 p.m. sharp. And the session is being recorded, and the link to the recording will be available on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org, within the next day or two. It's now my pleasure to introduce our speaker. Cliff Ennico is a nationally recognized small business legal and tax expert and is best known as the former host of Money Hunt, where entrepreneurs defended their business plans before America's toughest panel of experts. An attorney and small business consultant based in Fairfield, Connecticut, Cliff has helped launch over 15,000 businesses during his career. He is also the author of 16 books, most recently, The Crowdfunding Handbook, How to Raise Capital for Your Business Using Equity Funding Portals. I'll now turn it over to Cliff. Cliff, all yours.
Hey, thanks, Bob, very much, and thanks for all the good news about SCORE. Welcome to everyone. First of all, let me sort of congratulate all of you. I don't know where most of you are, but here in Fairfield County, Connecticut, it's sort of a bright, sunny day and sort of a crisp early fall afternoon here. And all of you have decided to take your lunch hour and spend it with an attorney. So I really have to give you guys a lot of credit, man. You guys get my Buns of Steel award. You are the real imperial stormtroopers of the entrepreneurial community here around the United States. But without any further ado, let's just launch into this. Today we're talking about a topic that attorneys are not supposed to know about very well, which is how to sell. And that probably strikes some of you as a little strange. I mean, an attorney talking about how to sell. Let's face it, I mean, people hate attorneys. We haven't done a very good job of selling what we do here ourselves. So how good can this be? Well, just give me an hour of your life. I think I can change your thinking about a number of things. Here, selling is one of the three most important entrepreneurial skills. I'm a little biased about this, and some of the other SCORE people may disagree, but I really feel the three essential business skills, the things you really have to get good at if you're going to run a successful business of your own of any kind, are selling, negotiating, and bookkeeping. Pretty much in that order. If you master those three skills, you're well on the way to knowing what you need to know to run a successful business. Anything else is gravy or specific to a specific industry, but those are the three essentials, and this is one of the essential, if not the essential skill in running your own small business. Nothing happens in small business unless somebody is sold, unless somebody buys something. So before we begin, now if you've ever doubted that I am a lawyer, you will now believe this totally. I have to do these two little disclaimers here. First of all, while I've been doing SCORE presentations now for over 30 years, I am not myself affiliated, legally with the SCORE organization. I am not an employee. I'm not a counselor. I'm a total outsider. So anything that I say here is my own. And if anything that I say doesn't work out for you, you can't sue SCORE. The more important one is the second one, though. Even though I am an attorney, and I know some of you guys have legal and tax questions, and I will try to answer them at the end of this program to the best of my ability. There's a very big difference between giving out legal and tax information and giving legal and tax advice. The difference between this is what the law says and this is what you should do is very, very profound. So if I say something and it sounds like a good idea and you make a note of it and you implement it in your business and it turns out to be a total failure, you end up your business fails, you end up filing bankruptcy, your spouse divorces you, takes the house and kids, the kids don't want to talk to you anymore, the dog pees on your leg and you're living on in a diaper box under the Brooklyn Bridge, you cannot sue anybody. Okay, it's not really anybody's fault. So yeah, there. Okay, end of legal disclaimers. Selling is one of the essential business skills. Without buyers, if you're doing something and people aren't buying what you're doing, well, what you're doing is really only a hobby. Now, the IRS, has a very technical set of rules that define what a hobby is as opposed to a business, but this is my big definition. A hobby is something you do that maybe you enjoy it, maybe you don't, but nobody buys what you're doing at the end of the day. It's just something you're doing for your own enjoyment, to pass the time, whatever. That's a hobby. If people are buying what you're doing, that is a business, even if it's not a lot of money. So selling is the key part of running a small business. Every day when you wake up in the morning, whatever you call yourself, in your business, whatever title you give yourself, you are the salesperson in chief. If sales don't happen, your business dies. If you let your marketing and sales, go lax, if you get so caught up, and this is a big problem for consultants, you get so caught up in keeping your current clients happy that you let your marketing slide, sooner or later the phone stops ringing and you have a big problem. Whatever your title is in business, you are the salesperson in chief. And when you wake up every morning, one of the questions you have to ask yourself over your morning coffee is, how much new business am I going to get today? How am I going to reach out? Am I going to make new contacts? Am I going to do whatever? So what's the big deal? So far what I'm saying is perfectly obvious. You already knew this when you signed on for the program. So what's the big deal here? The answer is nobody likes salespeople. When we think of sales, we think of selling, we think of salespeople, and let's face it, most of us do not have a positive image of salespeople. Let's be very honest. When we think of a salesperson, what do we think of? Telemarketers, unctuous car salespeople who'll say anything to get you drive off the thing that's been on the lot for 6 months. Willie Loman from Death of a Salesman, life's biggest loser. By the way, the reason why Willie Loman is such a big loser, I actually wrote a column about this once about Death of the Salesman and the Entrepreneur. It's not because he's a salesman. It's because he's a salesman who believes his own sales pitch too much. That's the tragedy of Willie Loman in a very big way. That's a talk I may do for SCORE on another date. If you search for Death of a Salesman and the Entrepreneur, you might find my column. I wrote it years ago, and it's on a lot of small business websites. Bottom line, nobody likes to be sold. It's intrusive. It makes us think we're inferior. All of us have at some point bought something and then regretted it the day afterwards. We call buyer's remorse. Okay? Let me tell you something. You are right to hate salespeople. You are absolutely right to hate salespeople, because what those people are doing is not marketing. What those people are doing is not selling. What those people are doing is cold calling. And that's what they're doing. Cold calling is, hi, I'm Cliff Ennico. I got a basement full of dead fish that are rotting away by the moment, and I'm really hoping you're in the mood for a seafood dinner tonight. That's cold calling in plain English. I have an inventory I have to get rid of, and I'll tell you anything to get you to buy this stuff that stinks. That's basically what cold calling is. Cold calling does not work. Cold calling is not effective. I used to say this. The one program I will never do for SCORE is cold call, how to be a more effective cold caller, because I don't believe in it. I don't see it working for my clients. Lord knows it has never worked for me. It is a waste of your time, and it's an insult to the people that you are dealing with in both ways. Now, having said that, if you go to YouTube.com and you check out my YouTube channel, if you go to YouTube.com and search for Cliff Ennico, I always go by Cliff, never Clifford, you will see a video called Cold Calling, How to Be a More Effective Cold Caller. And you should watch it, because there is one very limited situation in which cold calling is effective. I discuss it in the first 10 minutes of the program, but most of the time I'm saying don't do it, basically. It's a program really that's against cold calling and why it isn't effective and why it isn't a waste of time. There's a big difference between selling and cold calling, and what I'm going to try to do in the next few minutes is to teach you the difference between these two things. So what's the right way to sell? Okay. What I'm going to do in the next 45 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, is I am going to teach you a method by which anyone can sell just about anything to just about anybody. It's effective. It's ethical. You will not even think of yourself as a salesperson. You'll be able to sleep at nights and still live with yourself in the morning. Boy, does this sound like snake oil coming from a lawyer. Good. I got Bud laughing. That's always a good thing. Boy, does this sound like snake oil. I mean, you guys signed up for this. We got 75 people signed up for this today. You know, there you go. It just shows you anybody will watch anything on YouTube. Anyway, but I'm only kidding about that. Seriously, it's a method. It's taken me a long time to figure this out, guys. What I'm going to share with you in the next half an hour or so is something that has taken me over 20 years to figure out. I am sharing some of the deepest secrets I have learned in 38 years of working in the entrepreneurial community, and I'm giving it to you absolutely free, which shows you how good a businessman I am. Okay, it's a 3-step process, but, okay, before you can understand the 3 steps, you have to know something. I got to get you to buy into something here. I have to sell you on something myself. If I told you right now what the 3 steps were, okay, you'd be able to get off the call in 10 minutes, which is great, but you would come away thinking, wait a minute, that makes no sense. What Cliff said was just total Greek. I have no idea what this guy is saying. This makes absolutely no sense. In order to understand the 3 steps and to understand how important this is, you have to understand something about why people buy anything. Okay? In order for me to teach you how to sell anything to anybody, you have to get an understanding of why anybody buys anything. And there's a trigger warning here, which I take very, very seriously. I am going to share with you in the next few minutes some of the most powerful information I have learned in 38 years of working with entrepreneurs. I may be taking what you know about business and turning it on its ear. And, of course, I am totally unapologetic about that. Why does anybody buy anything in this world? Why do you buy anything? Why do I buy anything? When it comes to being a consumer, I'm no smarter than anybody else. You can use these techniques, believe it or not, to sell to me. I have bought things from people that I've met at SCORE seminars. It can be done. The same techniques work. There are 2 reasons why anybody buys anything. Only 2. In the entire world, why anyone buys anything. And if you have a business background, if you have an MBA or an undergraduate business degree, and you took a marketing course, you probably think you know what these 2 things are. According to all the textbooks, the 2 things that motivate people to buy anything are needs and wants. Needs and wants. Well, verily, verily, I say unto you, ladies and gentlemen, that is false. That is a fallacy, especially the needs part. When you're starting out in business and you're trying to sell people stuff, one of the dumbest things you can do, it hardly ever works, is to sell people things that they need. Now, boy, is that a strange statement. And why is that? Why do I say that? I mean, I think I have to give you a little bit of an explanation here. Here's why needs don't work. Before you can buy something you need, 2 things have to happen. You have to know, first of all, you have to know that you need something. Okay, do you know all the things that you need in life? The answer is no. That's why you're attending this seminar. You're hoping that I'm going to tell you someday, once I get through all this philosophical stuff. But seriously, you don't know the things you know. So if I reach into my bag of tricks and I pull out this ugly machine, something that you've never seen before, it's got all kinds of lights and bells and whistles and all this, and I put this thing, it looks kind of like a metal football. I put this up on my desk and I say, hey, ladies and gentlemen, here is my new invention, the Frugal Framus. With one of these, you will double your business overnight. You will avoid bankruptcy. You will pay off all your debts within 30 days, and you'll be even more attractive to the opposite sex or the same sex, whatever your preference is. I mean, it doesn't, you're all looking at me like, oh, come on. I mean, you're all like, what the heck is you guys talking about? This thing is ugly. I mean, it kind of looks like a bomb. I mean, are you like ISIS, man? Is this what you're trying to do? Is this going to blow? Is this going to blow up when I take it into the mall? I mean, what's going to go on here? I have to calm you down. I have to get you to stop hyperventilating, and I say, okay, well, here's how it works. Here's the benefits. Here's the features. All the stuff they tell you to do in marketing class. Until finally, at some point, you say, oh, okay, Cliff, I didn't quite get it at first, but you're right. I probably need this thing, this machine in my life. And by the way, if you think that that's science fiction, what I just said, those of you who are a little bit older, here's a little bit of trivia for you. Most of you bought your first personal computer Probably my guess would be in the mid-1980s if you're a baby boomer like me, like 1984, 85, 86, somewhere in there is probably when you bought your first personal computer. But when did the first personal computer first come out? When did the first commercially available PC come out? Well, the answer is 1976, when Apple released the Apple II, which was the very first personal computer invented by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. So think about that, 1976 to 1986, for 10 years, a whole decade, the industry and some very big people, Apple, IBM, Hewlett-Packard was in the game back then. All these companies were screaming at you how wonderful your life was going to be if you took one of these machines and put them in your spare bedroom or your den or your family room, and you were resisting it. You weren't doing it. Even though these people were telling you how great your life was going to be with one of these things, especially if you bought a printer along with it, you were resisting. And why were you resisting? Well, let's face it, you weren't really sold at this point. Back then we had whole lots of things that did things that personal computers can do. If you had to type a letter to someone, we had the IBM Selectric, which is wonderful. It even had some limited memory to it. If you had to send a message to someone, we had paper and stamps and stationery, anything you could buy at Hallmark. We had stuff that worked, and it worked pretty well. So it took a long time to get that market to buy into the fact that the PC was the future. And they spent hundreds of millions of dollars trying to get you to buy into that. Now, let me ask you, ladies and gentlemen, how much do you have in your checking account? Do you have hundreds of millions of dollars, and 10 years to build your market and get people interested in what you're selling? You probably do not. And if you do, by the way, my email address is crenico@gmail.com. Okay, ecrenico@gmail. I definitely want to hear from you, but no one has ever taken me up on that offer yet, so I don't expect it's going to happen now. But here's the killer. Here's the trick, though. Here's the secret. Even if you need something, even if I pull something out of my bag of tricks and you say, hey, Cliff, don't even open your mouth. Yes, you're right. I know, I need this right here. I need this. Do you buy it right away? Do you always buy it right there in the here and now? The answer is probably not. And here I have to share something with you that's very personal. Just to show you I'm no better than anybody else, and I'm subject to the same rules and the same laws that all of you are when it comes to this stuff. I'm going to share something with you. It may shock some of you to know this, but I didn't have a will until about 5-6 years ago. Okay, and without going into specific numbers, I'm an old mold fart. Okay, I waited forever to get a will. Now this is kind of shocking because let's face it, I am a lawyer after all. Why did I hold off so long getting a will? Is it because I didn't know I needed one? Heck, I'm a lawyer. If anybody knows they need a will, it's me. In fact, it even gets worse because I don't do wills in my law practice. If someone calls me and says, hey, Cliff, I need to update my will, what do I do for this client? Well, the answer is I refer them. There are several attorneys here in southern New England and the greater New York area that specialize in estate planning, wills and trusts, and I send them referrals on a regular basis, and they're very grateful for these referrals. They call me and say, hey, Cliff, thanks for sending Joe Blow over to me. Hey, by the way, when it comes time for you and your wife to update your wills, call me. I'll do it as a professional courtesy. I won't charge you. That's how we say thanks to each other. We can't legally take referral fees, so we have to do other things to thank each other for referrals, and this is one of the things we do. So think about this, ladies and gentlemen. Here I am, a relatively intelligent, educated, maybe overeducated human being. I know I need something. I have people offering to do it for me for nothing, and I'm still saying no. Okay, what's the problem here? Am I stupid? Am I dumb? Am I thick? Well, maybe I am, but I'm your customer. That's the thing. You can the market will break your heart every time. You can have 50 good, logical, sound, intelligent reasons why people should buy your products, your services, whatever it is you do in your business. But if they are not otherwise motivated to buy, they will not buy. They will resist. They'll be nice to you. They'll say, oh, thanks, I'll think about it, I'll get back to you, and they never do. Okay, these things rarely happen in the real world of business. Selling people things they need is a path, or that you think they need, which is pretty much the same thing, is a path to failure, almost always. There are two reasons and only two why people buy things in this world, but they are not needs and wants. Verily, verily, I say unto you, ladies and gentlemen, here's what they really are. First reason people buy things, passions, emotions. If you have a product or service that that gets people excited, that gets them thrilled, that gets them looking forward to something. You have a sale coming. You will be able to sell based on people's passions. Whole industries are based on people's passions. Let's look at some of them here. Entertainment, anything to do with entertainment and fun, movies, books, Broadway, video games, anything like that. We do not need, unless you have a basement full of rats, you do not need a golf club in your basement. Okay, you do not need a golf club in your house. Yet, if you know anything about golfers, I mean, these people are fanatics about their sport. I mean, they will spend thousands of dollars on some club with a titanium head that will give them 3 feet more off the tee. I mean, they're crazy people, golfers. I myself am not much of a golfer, so I can say that, I guess. If you're a golfer, of course, you're totally offended, but that's okay. I don't care. Sports, hobbies, golf, rare coins, anything, whatever it is. If you have a collection of Mercury dimes, and I know where you can get the one that you're missing to complete the set, believe me, I have your attention. If you know anything about coin collectors, they're like that. Luxury items, Lamborghinis versus, let's face it, somebody driving a Lamborghini to and from work each day is not motivated by a primary need for transportation. Something else is going on with that person. I mean, a Toyota, an old beat-up old Toyota like I drive, that's 25 years old. I just got antique plates for it, actually, by the way. I now drive an antique. Of course, my wife says I am one. So that's actually perfectly fitting. But let me trust you. It's rusting away, but it gets me to and from work. I don't have to worry about it. And I don't have to worry. My clients don't question my bills as much as they would if I drove a Lamborghini, by the way. If you're in a business where your clients are very price-sensitive, as I am, do not drive a Lamborghini to and from your client meetings. It's just not a good thing. Trust me on this one. Addictions. Let's talk about some stuff now that's not so nice. Addictions are passions. Alcohol, tobacco, pornography. One of the best things that can happen to you in business is for people to become legally addicted to your products or services that you offer. Starbucks coffee, anyone? And I'm kind of serious about this. I mean, if you get used to Starbucks coffee, the darker roasts as I am, seriously, go back to instant coffee. Go back to Folgers or something like that. Seriously, you will be in withdrawal. You will have headaches. You will have symptoms of withdrawal, just like a drug addict does. Your body chemistry has been changed by a very legal product. No one's trying to shut Starbucks down the way they are the tobacco companies. At least the last time I looked, they aren't. They may be. I don't know. But seriously, this stuff is addictive. But yet it's perfectly legal. If that ever happens to you, that's a wonderful thing to happen to you in your business, though it's not very nice to talk about. If you're having trouble, by the way, thinking of passions, here's a great trick. Think of the 7 deadly sins. And I'm deadly serious about this. I don't see these as sins. This is not a Sunday school class. It's a business class. I see these as 7 very common passions that most of us have to one degree to another, and whole industries have been based on each one of them. Let's go down the 7. Let's just really quickly. I'll stay on this slide for just a minute. I'll do this very quickly. Let's go down the 7 deadlies, and you'll see what I'm talking about here. Pride, anything that makes you feel better about yourself, anything that makes you feel that you're doing better as a person or as a professional, any kind of self-help program, that kind of thing. A class like this one, perhaps, that might actually teach you something someday. If I stop getting off the cloud on all this philosophy stuff here, but seriously, anything that makes you better about yourself, feel better about yourself as a person or a professional, is an appeal to your pride. Lust, no explanation necessary. Sex sells a lot of stuff. If I have to give you examples, you have not lived much of a life. Let's face it, whole industries are based on sex. Pride, lust, greed. I've got this hot new mutual fund. It'll guarantee you 12% return on investment no matter what Wall Street or the economy is doing. Isn't that how Bernie Madoff, and some really awful, sleazy salespeople sold, a lot of stuff, back before the recession. Let's put it this way. A lot of Wall Street is based on greed. Pride, lust, greed, envy. I've got something you don't have. Okay, people buying Lamborghinis to go to and from work, people buying Hermes bags or any kind of, branded luxury merchandise, even people buying smart cars, by the way. If you've ever been passed by a smart car on the highway, Now, seriously, if you've ever been passed by a smart car, those little three-cylinder things that look like glorified golf carts. You haven't just been passed on the road. There's a message in this. I'm greener than thou. I'm saving the planet. You're not. There's a little bit of that. And forgive me, if anybody here drives a smart car, I hope I don't offend you, but you're like that. Okay, let's just face this. I mean, I don't care. You're like this. I mean, and by the way, if you are being routinely passed by smart cars on the highway, if this is a routine occurrence for you, I seriously think that you should talk to a car dealer, even a sleazy one, about an upgrade. I think it's time. I mean, seriously, if you can look between your feet and the car and you see the road going by, I think, it's time for an upgrade, people. This is something that should not be happening. A three-cylinder thing should not be passing a standard sedan or an SUV. Okay, so that's just my opinion, of course. You feel free to disagree with me as you wish. Okay, so and by the way, pride, lust, fear. Pride. I'm sorry. Here we go. Pride, lust, greed, envy, anger. Oh boy, what a great time of the year to talk about this one. Negative political ads that make you hate the other party's candidate. And by the way, I hate them as much as you do, by the way, but they're never going to go away. And here's why they're never going to go away. They are based on a lot of solid research. I actually took a course in college, believe it or not, on political behavior, how people behave in the voting booth. And one of the lessons that came out of that class very strongly, and based on solid research, when people are in the voting booth, they don't so much vote for something as they vote against something. If you've ever been in the voting booth and you see two candidates side by side, you have to vote for one. One is somebody you know nothing about, but the other one is someone you really can't stand for whatever reason or another. Now, the ethical thing to do would be not to vote for either of these people because you haven't obviously done the research necessary to make an informed and intelligent decision. But let's face it, most of us are human. We would vote for the devil we don't know, and who may actually be worse than the person we hate. Okay, this is how a lot of political. Let's face it, folks. You've done it. Okay, let's all be honest about this. We've all done it. I've done it too. Okay, I'm not exempt from this. Okay, I'm no wiser than anybody else. I hate these ads. I hate them as much as you do. But if I'm a political operative, my job is not so much to get you to fall in love with my candidate. My job is to get you to hate the other person so much you'll vote for anything with a pulse that is not that person. And unfortunately, it's a very effective strategy and works very well. We're seeing an example of it even today going on right now, and I won't be specific about that. It's election season. Okay, sloth, which is laziness. That's number 6. On the big 7 here, laziness, anything that's convenient, that makes your life easier, that forces you to do that makes you do something without doing any work, anything that helps your arms and legs to rot away because they're no longer evolutionary necessary. I can name numbers of anything that appeals that makes things more convenient is an appeal to your sloth or laziness. And then finally, number 7, there is gluttony, which is eating and drinking too much. And of course, I know nothing about that. This is something I really can't help any of you with. I'm being ironic here. Anybody of you who have ever met me know that just by looking at me, I have had some close encounters with cupcakes in my life. Okay, this has happened in my life. And I always tell people, by the way, if you ever see me live, I always make this joke. Ladies and gentlemen, a body like this, what you're looking at right now, this does not happen overnight. What you are looking at right now takes years of dedicated, consistent effort to be in the shape that I am today. And let me tell you, it's a lot more fun than losing weight. Trust me on this. All right. So that's passions. The second reason why people buy things, okay, fears and anxieties. If you have a product or service that helps people sleep better at nights, you will get sales. In fact, research shows that even in bad economies, when people are cutting back on their passion-based purchases, you can still sell a lot of stuff to people using a fear or anxiety sell. People in tough economies will still head up their credit cards in order to sleep better at nights. Let's look at some examples of this. Whole industries that are based on fear, people's fears and anxieties. Well, insurance. I mean, you don't buy insurance because you're passionate about anything. You're buying insurance because you're afraid you're going to get hit by a bus tomorrow and your family's going to be in a diaper box under the Brooklyn Bridge. That's what you're worried about. That's why you buy insurance. And believe me, insurance people are very effective at scaring the crap out of you to make you buy that insurance. Home security systems, alarms. You ever see the ads on TV for these things, by the way? It's always the same ad. It's exactly the same ad. There's a house in the middle of nowhere, and there's a creep in a ski mask who is trying to break into the house. And who's in the house? Who is always in the house? It's always the same two people. Mother is bathing the baby. This is what's going on. They do this. They terrify you with these ads. And by the way, if you know anything about burglars, they don't work that way. Burglars do not work that way. Believe me, they spend a lot of time making sure that if they're going to hit your house, that there's nobody in the house. They don't want anybody around the vicinity when they hit your house, because they know, they're not fools, they know that if there's somebody's in the house unexpectedly, what turns into a breaking and entering thing could end up turning into something much more serious, and they don't want that any more than you. By the way, you're probably wondering how I know this information, by the way. Well, let's just say that my clientele comes from a very broad spectrum of humanity. I work with people whose, let's face it, their degree of entrepreneurialism is somewhat more, intense than others, and let's just put it that way. And by the way, criminals are very entrepreneurial people, by the way. It's really amazing. Can you imagine being in a business where if you are successful, a little too successful, you go to prison for 20, 30 years? I mean, let's put it this way. The whole risk-reward analysis is something that a burglar really understands. He's not going to hit a house where he knows he's only going to come away with $1,000 worth of stuff. He's going to go after the place where he can get the original Mona Lisa. Just trust me on this, okay? I won't cite my sources for this information, but it's just something you have to think about. A criminal enterprise is as much an entrepreneurial enterprise as anything else, with a very extreme risk-reward ratio. That's all it is. Okay, so let me be honest with you, lawyers, people. I mean, I'm kind of in a fear business. When was the last time any of you called your lawyer when you were having a nice day, when things are going well? The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, it's a beautiful morning, I think I'll call my lawyer. That doesn't happen. People don't do that. Trust me, they do not do that. There are two people you never call when life is going well, your lawyer and your orthopedic surgeon. Those are two people you never call. You never do. Every call that I get in my office begins the same way. Cliff, thank God you picked up. Oh, God, man, I was going to call my wife and I got you. Oh, God, okay. Okay, let's start talking to me. Let's set the bill meter running here. Okay, how bad is it? How much of your body is the wolf eaten up? I mean, this is how it is. And by the way, I'm not saying you should have sympathy for the devil here, but you got to have a little sympathy for people in a profession where those are the only calls you get, or when people are sort of on life support. You have to really have a little sympathy for the devil here. I'm not saying you have to love lawyers, but that is how the life is sometimes. So fear sells a lot of stuff. Okay, now, so far we're talking. So fears and passions; those are the two things that drive people to buy things. Okay, now so far we're talking about some pretty easy examples here, like burglar alarms and lawyers. Let's now take a tough example: perfume or cologne for men. Okay, we're in the cosmetics business, and we're looking to sell our perfume and our cologne. Okay, which do we use? Do we use a passion sell, or we do a fear sell? Well, that's a tough one. If I were to poll you right now, some of you would say one, and some of you would say the other, and that's because whenever you find yourself in a situation like that, by the way, if you can't decide whether a fear sell or a passion sell is going to work with a particular group of people, it's because the group is too big. You got to break it down into smaller chunks, and then you'll see exactly what to do. So let's do that here. In fact, marketing people have a very big name for this. They call this segmentation, but it's very easy. It's really looking at a group of people and saying, aha, the fear people are over here, the passion people are over there. I know exactly what to do with each of these groups of folks. Here's our case number one. Our target customer is a young 20-something urban professional, male or female, going to a nightclub on Saturday night, and they are splashing on perfume or cologne if it's a man. Okay, what are they looking to do here? What are they looking to accomplish? Well, answer, to put it quite frankly, lust. Okay, they are looking to attract members of the opposite sex, or maybe the same sex. There's people have different preferences. And by the way, that's a very important thing to know if you're in the cosmetics business. I'm not saying that to make a silly joke here. Research has shown, and very profoundly too, that gay men, homosexual men, on average, buy 2 to 3 times as many personal care products as heterosexual men do. So if you're in the cosmetics business and you're targeting males, men, Y chromosomes, the gay demographic is a very important part of what you do, and you have to be at least somewhat gay-friendly if you're going to target that market effectively. I can base that. I can get research in support of what I just said there. Okay, these are just things you have to know if you're in the cosmetics business. Okay, so our 20-something urban professional, gay or straight, male or female, we're obviously going to use a passion sell. with this person, aren't we? Of course. Our product has genuine cockroach pheromones. You splash this stuff on, and you'll attract people, even people you don't want. You'll be attracted to everyone. You will not go home alone, even though you are butt ugly. That is the message. Really, if you think about it, that is the message that is in all of these ads. You will not. Let's face it. We're all a little insecure about our appearance and who we are. We're all a little insecure about that. Some of us more than others, me more than most. But seriously, I mean, we all like to be reassured that even though we're on the bottom half of the genetic of the evolutionary scale when it comes to looks, we still will find someone. We still will find someone that's attracted to us, that we're attracted to. That we will not go home alone, even though we are butt ugly. That is the message behind all these perfume ads. Okay. So let's leave this. I think I've beaten that one to death. Our second case here is a bit trickier. A 70-something woman, a 70-something female, going to her weekly bridge or mahjong luncheon or lunch with the girls, whatever she does, okay? She's splashing on perfume. Now, what is her – is she being motivated by lust? Is she really – is that her motivation? Well, traditionally the answer is no. I have to say, though, in all honesty, I have to drop a footnote here, but this is changing a lot. I'm reading more and more these days about sexually transmitted diseases among the elderly. Okay, so, I mean, maybe I shouldn't be so sanguine about this. Maybe the world is changing on me and I just need to update this program. But let's just say we're talking about a traditional 70-something female, and she's getting ready to go somewhere. What is her objective here? Well, some of you might say, well, she's trying to appear younger. She's trying to appear more vibrant. Let's be very honest here, folks. What's really going on here, I got to be very honest with you, she doesn't want to smell like an old woman. Okay, that is what's going on here. Okay, she doesn't want to smell like she's circling the drain or maybe already there. She doesn't want to be there. Okay, that's what she wants to do. I know this is a little harsh on some. That's why I gave you that trigger warning, people. Right? I'm repeating it now. Some of this stuff is not politically correct that I'm talking about, but you can't be politically correct and survive in sales. You got to understand exactly how people are, whether you like what you see or not. That's part of being an entrepreneur. You take people as they come, not as you'd like them to be. And this is one of those examples. It's no secret that as we get older, our body chemistry changes, and sometimes what happens is not always that pleasant to be around. We have to mask those odors in some way. And by the way, please don't think I'm being sexist in any way. Men have exactly the same problem growing older that women have, exactly the same problem. The problem is that being men, we don't give a damn. That is the difference. And research supports this, by the way. You can make millions of dollars selling perfume to older women, but you'll have a tough time selling cologne to older men unless they fall into one of two demographic categories. Either they are gay men again buy more personal care products than heterosexual men do, or if they are Italian American. And believe it or not, I have research to support that. That is a demographic group of older men who tend to buy more cologne and personal care products than other ethnic groups do. Why? I haven't a clue. Please don't ask me. Even though I have a vowel at the end of my name, I can't give you a very good answer on that. So here's a situation where the same bottle of perfume or cologne can be sold using a passion cell or a fear cell, depending on who the target market is, a process called segmentation. That's a very cute and fun way for me to teach the concept of segmentation. Okay, fears and passions rule. These are the only two reasons why we buy things. Now, some of you say, well, wait a minute. I mean, I get what you're saying, but there are certain things that you can still sell based on need. I mean, we all need food. If we don't eat food, we starve and we die. Unless you're on a diet, of course. We all need food one way or the other. Well, yes, you're absolutely right. At a certain level, we all need food to survive. But how do you satisfy that hunger? When you're hungry in the middle of the day, do you go and get a broccolini salad or do you get a Big Mac with bacon and cheese? I mean, how you satisfy that need has everything to do with your fears and passions. If you're more health conscious, you go for the broccolini salad. If you don't care, or let's face it, Big Macs are delicious. That's the you kind of go for the Big Mac. So that's my sales pitch on this. If you think about it, now some people resist this, but if you think about it, you'll really see that it's all about fears and passions. It's not about needs and wants. Once you bought into fears and passions as key buying motivators, selling is easy. This is the tough part here, folks. If you don't buy into that whole fears and passions thing, you're going to have a tough time understanding my 3 steps. If you do, the 3 steps are almost obvious. It's a 3-step process. First of all, know your customer. Get your customer. If it's a live sales pitch, if you're doing this live or you're doing it, via email, the first most important thing: get your customer talking about their fears and passions. Keep your mouth shut. The biggest mistake that salespeople make, and they make it all the time, they start talking too soon about what they have in their inventory. Okay, keep your mouth shut. Until you know exactly what the buyer is interested in, you shouldn't be saying anything at all. Get them talking about their fears, their passions. Easiest thing in the world to do. These are the two things we spend most of our life talking about, the things that turn us on and the things that worry us, the things that keep us awake at night. These are the two things. Think about it. When you get together with your friends, after work, or you get together with, your family at Thanksgiving, what do you end up talking about? You spend 99% of your time talking about the things that turn you on and the things that worry you. All right, these are the two most common things. We all know that people won't buy from someone they dislike. All the marketing courses are directed. People just don't like you. They won't buy anything. You could have a cure for cancer, and they have the disease, and they still won't buy from you because they don't want to give you the satisfaction, somebody like you, the satisfaction of giving you a sale. That's human nature, folks. Don't hate them for it. It's just something we are all a little bit like that. Okay? But here's the king. It's impossible to dislike someone who empathizes with your fears and passions. This is the key. What you want to do in a sales meeting or when you're introducing yourself to a new customer, the first thing you want to do is you want to show them you're simpatico. You empathize with their fears and passions. In fact, social psychologists tell us this is how we find our friends and sometimes our lovers. Sometimes our friends and lovers don't look anything at all like us physically. But it's very hard to fall in love with someone who doesn't at least empathize with your fears and passions or share them. Obviously, you hope they share them, but so the trick here is you must show them that your customer that you empathize with their fears and passions. So if I'm trying to sell a prospect and I'm in his office, he's on the phone, and I see he's got pictures of sailboats all over the place, the first thing I'm going to do when he gets off the phone is say, hey, before you get started on this, I see you're obviously an avid sailor. Do you do this? Do you race competitively, or is it something you just do on the weekends, just cruising the islands and stuff like that? Believe me, if I say that, he's going to launch for 45 minutes talking about the thing he loves to do most in this world, and he's going to think that you are a brilliant conversationalist, even if you're just sitting there nodding your head up and down. Trust me, I've actually been in this situation, and it absolutely works. Show the customer that you at least share or empathize with their fears and conversations. Step number 2. Focus the conversation. We're trying to make a sale here. We're not just looking to make a friend here. We want to sell something. Direct the conversation to a fear or passion that you can do something about. We all have fears. We all have passions. You want to get the customer to the point where they are actually feeling that fear, that passion right now in the present moment. So if I was a lawyer, which I am, and I was trying to sell you an LLC, which is called a limited liability company. Some of you know what that is, some of you don't. But if I was trying to sell you on this, here's how I would do it. Ladies and gentlemen, Bob said at the very beginning of this program that I've worked with over 15,000 people who run their own businesses. If you are like virtually all those people, one of the things that's worrying you, that's keeping you awake at nights, is the fear that you will, that you will do something wrong, you'll get sued, you'll lose your business, and your whole world will collapse. Okay, you could lose your house. That can't happen. We live in a very litigious society. If something bad happens to somebody, they lawyer up and they sue. This is how we do things here in America. But you don't have to live with that. There's something we lawyers can do that can put. There's a number of things we lawyers can do that can put a wall up between your business assets and your personal assets. So if you have a business and you have one of these wall things in place, well, the bad guys can still get to your business assets because those are still exposed. But all your personal assets, your house, your cars, your kids' college tuition fund, all of that is behind the wall and it's safe from attack. One of these things, these wall things, we call an LLC or a limited liability company. Are you interested in hearing more? How many people here are going to say no to a sales pitch like that? Now, it's a very effective one, isn't it? And what did I do here? First of all, I kind of skipped step number 1. I kind of what I did was I didn't get you talking about your fears and passions, number 1, because we don't have time. I've only got a few minutes left here. But number 2, I've worked with entrepreneurs for over 30 years of my life. I know everybody worries about that. So by bringing it up, what I did was I made you think about losing your home. I made you focus on risk. Right now, I mean, if we were live and in person, some of you guys might have widened your eyes or put your head back. You were physically assaulted by that approach. But I didn't just do that to make you feel bad. I didn't do that. That would be unethical. What I did was I went right to step number 3, which is offer the solution. Okay? You've got this fear, but you know what? You don't have to live with that. I can help you with that. I know where you can get the answer to that. I know where you can get that Mercury dime that'll complete your coin collection. I know somebody on eBay who's got one of those, and it looks like it's in pretty good condition and pretty affordable. Okay, now I've got your total attention. I've got your total attention right now. Okay, why? Because I got you to focus right now in the moment on a fear or a passion that I have a solution for, and now I've got your total attention. This is a lot more effective than sitting there going down all the things that are on your inventory. And by the way, folks, those of you who are in between jobs and you're looking for employment, this works in job interviews as well. Don't start talking about all the crap that's on your resume that nobody cares about. Get the interviewer talking about what the needs of the company are. And by the way, it's sort of funny. When we talk about this stuff, we do say, when you see something that you really want to buy, the words that come out of your mouth are, oh, I really need that. But I think you've listened to me enough that you know that that's not what's going on. What's happened is a marketer has done a very effective job of hitting you and making you focus on a fear or a passion that you want to address in the immediate moment. And that's why you find yourself saying that. By going through steps 1 and 2, you have pre-qualified them. So now all that you have to talk about is the thing that they're most interested in, and they probably, more likely than not, will buy from you in the present moment. Truly, and by the way, truly great salespeople don't see themselves as salespeople. They see themselves as helping to solve other people's problems. I'm doing you a favor. You got a problem. I can make your life better. And I've got this wonderful thing. There's a famous cartoon. I don't remember where it's from, but it's a cartoon of this older man who is trying to chop down a gigantic redwood tree with a little tiny axe. And there's a guy standing behind him with a chainsaw, and he's trying to get the old man's attention. He's like tapping him on the shoulder. And the old man with the axe turns around and says, please don't bother me right now. Can't you see I'm busy? Okay, this is where a lot of people are. They don't understand that the chainsaw will help them do this job much easier and much quicker than the little tiny axe. You got to get them to realize that, and then more likely than not, they will buy with you. I have a wonderful story here, which I may pass by because we only have a few more minutes to go. But I use as an example here, back in 2009, in the depths of the recession, okay, I bought a very expensive piece of jewelry from my wife, and I tell the story about how this lady at J. Albert Johnson Jewelers here in Fairfield, Connecticut. It's in my contract, by the way. I have to tell you this. I have to tell you who this person is. This person is such an effective salesperson. I asked her for permission to tell this story, and she actually made me sign a one-page contract saying that if she'll let me tell the story, but only if I tell you exactly who she is. If I have time during the Q&A, if you guys don't have a lot of questions, I'll tell you the story then. It's a great story. For those of you who missed it, it is on one of my YouTube videos. I have a YouTube version of this talk called How to Sell Anything to Anybody, and it's included as part of that if you want to see it right now. I hate to do that to you, but I'm kind of running out of time here, and I want to get through the few more slides that I have here. And then I promise you I will tell you the story. Okay. Specific sales situations, your elevator pitch, you're at some kind of a networking group, you're going around the room, what do you say? Well, here's what people do wrong. They always say what they are, and that's always a bad thing. Hi, I'm a lawyer. Okay, the minute I say that, the temperature in the room drops 10 degrees. Okay, and people don't like lawyers, and let's face it, a lot of people hate lawyers. If you have been through a bad and ugly divorce, you hate attorneys. That's an absolute equation. Okay, I mean, I don't know any of you, but you know what I'm talking about here. A lot of people dislike attorneys. The minute I do that, I've just dumped a whole lot of baggage on you that I shouldn't have done. Okay, or even worse, I sell insurance. Okay, that's an automatic turnoff at a networking group meeting. At that point, I'm heading to the bathroom. Okay, at that point, you do that to me. All right. Okay, here's the way you do it. First of all, say who your customers are, how you impact their lives and make their lives better, and then just say, give them something to help them remember who you are. I mean, tell them a little story. So, for example, I used to run a little company called Bienix Corporation back in the 90s. I ended up selling it back in the very early 2000s. I won't bore you with the details. Here are 2 elevator pitches for the exact same company. Okay, number 1. Hi, I'm Cliff Ennico, president of Bienix Corporation in Fairfield, Connecticut. We are a legal publishing company that specializes in the career information vertical. What the hell did I just say? Okay. By the way, everything in that pitch is 100% true, but obviously it's not going to register with any of you. Here's the second pitch, which I think you'll like a lot better. Hi, folks. I'm Cliff Ennico, president of Bienix Corporation in Fairfield, Connecticut. We are We are the world's leading publisher of books, audio cassette programs, and seminars for lawyers and other legal professionals to help them manage their careers better. We don't help them learn how to practice law. We help them be more successful in their practices. One of our books, The Legal Job Interview, A Guide to Interviewing for a Legal Job, was the book most frequently stolen from law libraries around the country, according to a nationwide librarian survey. Okay, now that one was a little bit longer, but do you see what I did here? I told you who my customers were. We serve lawyers and other legal professionals. How you impact their lives and make their lives better. We help them become more successful in their practices. We're not teaching them how to practice law. A lot of other people do that better than we do, but we help them survive in their careers. And then I told you that story, which by the way is very true, about for several years that book, which I'm very pleased to say I also wrote, was the book most frequently stolen from law libraries around the country. That doesn't say a whole lot for the ethics of my profession, ladies and gentlemen, but it is great dust jacket copy. I actually got their permission to use that on the book jacket, the book most frequently stolen from law libraries around the country 3 years in a row. That's great. You cannot pay for PR like that, people. Trust me on that one. Okay, selling online. Okay, selling online. Right now we've been talking about personal selling one-on-one. One of the things that's a little tricky here about the web is not a push medium. You cannot push your medium into people's faces. I mean, people like Bud Freund and other people at SCORE do entire programs on digital marketing, and you really should attend those because they're very, very good. But the thing you have to know about the web is a pull medium. When I'm on the web and I'm searching for stuff, I'm in control. I decide what I see and what I don't see. So in order for you to get through all the clutter and get past my spam filter and all this, you got to seduce me. You got to get me to go to you. You got to get me to click on your website. Okay? So your website, social media, whenever you set up your website, only talk about the things your buyers actually care about. So, for example, I'm a lawyer. I will tell you, people don't care about where I went to law school, what my grades were, anything like that. All they care about are two things. Can I do the job, and can they afford me? Those are the only two things they care about. So when you look at my website, if you go to cliffennico.com, which is my law firm website, my legal website, I have several, you'll see that all I talk about there is, what I do for folks specifically, the kinds of contracts I do, the kind of ways I help small businesses do make their lives better, more profitable, whatever. And then I put my fee schedule up there. I tell you exactly what things are going to cost. I don't mince words. I don't want you to have to ask me how much things cost. It's right up there on my website. That's all they care about. And let me tell you, this is not rocket science, folks. I'm never going to win awards from my website. But yet I get a lot of business that a lot of lawyers don't get because I'm more candid up front about these two things. Okay. Also remember, most people learn about websites offline. When was the last time you checked out a website online because you saw an article in the Wall Street Journal or some other magazine or something like that? Even though we live in an increasingly digital world, never let your offline marketing lag or fall behind. Okay, networking meetings, I don't like them. I'll be very honest with you. I don't see a lot of people getting business from these. Most people do it just to get emotional support because, they're out of work and the heebie-jeebies are getting to them, and that's why they join these things, just to get out once a week. If you do decide to do these, I don't advocate it. Follow the 3 steps, that I just gave you. Never offer your card unless someone asks for it. And this is also one of my great tricks. Whenever somebody says, hey, look, you have a card, don't give it to them. Say no. This is a very effective technique, and it really takes you back to high school dating. Remember, the most desirable people were always the ones that were hard to get? Well, this is the game you're playing here. What I do when somebody says, wait a minute, I'd like to give you one, but you know what? I really don't know right now enough about you to know how I can help you. Let's talk for a minute because I'm really not sure that I can help you get wherever you want to go. And frankly, if I can't, I don't want to waste your time by giving you a card, to be very honest with you. I mean, I don't really mean that business cards are cheap. They don't cost anything. I don't care about that. But I only give cards out to people that I think I really want to bond with. And I'm not really sure if that's you right now. I do that. And let me tell you something. People really respect that you do that. They're not used to that kind of an answer, and that forces a discussion of maybe I can help this person. Maybe there is some way I can make this person's life better, or they'll refer me business or something, but I'm not going to give my card out just for the sake of giving a card out. 9 times out of 10 just goes into the round file. In fact, I'll share with you what I do with business cards that I get at networking meetings. You're going to hate me for this. What I do is I bring them home, I put them on a stack on my desk, I wait 3 days, then I go through them, and if I can't remember what you look like or what we talked about, it goes right in the round file. I don't care if you are the head of the United Nations, you're going to go into that round file. I hate to say that, but I think a lot of people do the same thing. Okay, so here are my key takeaway points. Selling is an essential activity. It must be done. Whether you like it or not, if you don't think of yourself as a salesperson, follow my 3 steps, because there is a way you can sell without being a salesperson. And if you were listening, I've just taught you how to do it. Cold calling seldom, if ever, works because it shows people you really don't care about them. What people will buy from people who care about them, and that's the lesson here. If you show people you care about them as human beings, you're willing to learn something about them before you offer whatever it is you do, your products and services, you will get sales, or at the very least you'll get referrals to other people who will buy from you. It's not about people's needs and wants. It's about people's fears and passions. Empathize with your buyers' fears and passions. They will like you, and they likely will buy from you. Finally, in your sales pitches, be memorable. Include at least one story that will help people remember you. Now, a year from now, I guarantee you, most of you are not going to remember who Cliff Ennico is, but you are going to remember that I told you that story, that I once wrote a book that was so good people were actually stealing it from law libraries. That you're going to remember. You're going to remember, who's that guy who wrote that book that, I got a young nephew or something who's going to law school. I think I want him to have that book, but I can't remember what it was. Who was that guy again? You're going to call SCORE, and, of course, they'll send you to me. They better. Or else I'll stop doing these. Okay. One last point, and I said this before, but it's very important. If you are currently between jobs, these techniques work in job interviews too. What I've just taught you in the last hour is how to do a successful job interview. So with that, without any further ado, I'm done talking. Let us take some questions.
Thanks, Cliff. We'll now use the remaining time for questions. I put out a reminder during Cliff's talk, but please use the chat feature in the lower left-hand side. We do have about 5 minutes left for questions. I know Cliff would be glad to take them. But maybe while we're waiting, Cliff, do you want to tell your story?
Yeah, tell that story. I really feel badly that we didn't do that during the prom, but I wanted to make sure. I know the time is very important here. I got to finish on time, or else I get shot. But seriously, this is an actual thing. This happened to me. This was November of 2009, the depths of the recession. One thing people are not buying is luxury jewelry at this point in time. They are not. There's a local jeweler here in town. It's called J. Albert Johnson. It's in Fairfield, Connecticut. For those of you who live locally, it's on Black Rock Turnpike right near the ShopRite. I have to say this, by the way. Remember I said the person I'm about to tell you about is such a good salesperson that when I asked her for permission to do this story, she made me sign a contract saying she only will allow me to do this if I tell you who she is, because she's looking at this as a way to get business. She's not shy, trust me. Her name is Judy, and she's the person who owns this J. Albert Johnson, local jewelry store in Fairfield, Connecticut. So it was getting close to the holidays, Christmas, Hanukkah, and I wanted to buy my wife something, a piece of jewelry, from. I buy a lot of jewelry from this store, by the way. They always tend to have a lot of the stuff that my wife likes, and their prices are very reasonable, which is not typical of jewelry stores generally. So I tend to like this store. I buy a lot from Judy. Anyway, so I came walking in, and, of course, there's nobody in the store, and she kind of brightened up and said, "Hey, Cliff, good to see you. And hey, listen, Christmas is coming. You want to buy something for your wife, Dolores? Great. Listen, come over here. Let me show you this. Look at this bracelet. This is something I just got. It's an estate piece. I can do a deal with you. Now look at this over here. These earrings. She would absolutely love this. I don't think she has anything like this as yet, but you probably know better than I do." And I had to calm her down. I said, Judy, calm down. You don't have to do this to me. By the way, seriously, and this is something you have to think about. When was the last time you were in a jewelry store where you had to wait to be served? Okay? Think about that. This does not happen. Usually when you go into a jewelry store, you're the only person in the store. There might be a young couple looking at engagement rings, but they're in a corner. But you usually have the whole place to yourself. If you're in a mall at the holiday time, the jewelry stores are the islands of calm. That's where you go to get away from all the crowds because there's only a few people there looking at stuff. Okay? This is very typical of the jewelry industry. Judy tells me there are days when she only has 1 or 2 people walking in that door and ringing that doorbell. Her attitude is whenever somebody walks into that store, they are either going out with a box or in one. And that is her attitude. No, seriously, Judy takes no prisoners. When you're in a business like that where you only have 1 or 2 people stopping by on any given day, you have to make the most of each of those opportunities. So I calmed her and I said, look, you don't have to do this. You know me. I'm one of your better customers. I buy lots of stuff from you. Let me look around. Let me do my Zen shopping. I kind of look around and wait for things to hit me. Okay, great. Do your Zen, call me. Went back to reading her magazine, whatever she was doing. And so I look, and of course the 2 things you see are at opposite ends of the store. So I start ping-ponging back and forth. So finally Judy pipes up. She says, hey, Cliff, you're making me seasick. Let me just pull the things out of the cabinet. Let me put them side by side, so you can see them. And the two items were very different. One of them was an opal and diamond ring that was actually quite gorgeous. She was having on sale for about $1,200, which is a good price for that, by the way. Given the carat weight of the diamonds and stuff like that. And then the other piece that I saw was a diamond tennis bracelet that was absolutely gorgeous that she had on sale for $4,000. Okay. Now, I looked at these two pieces, and she looked at me and she goes, Cliff, I'm a little surprised. You're usually a pretty decisive guy. It's definitely the tennis bracelet. You should definitely go that way. You should definitely go that way. She doesn't have anything like it. I know that. She's going to, well, what's the objection? Is it too much money? Is that the concern? I said, no, Judy, it really isn't that. It's something else. She goes, well, what else can it be? He goes, well, look, my wife, she works in an office. This is a beautiful piece, but it's not the kind of, whenever I buy her jewelry, I try to buy her things that she can wear every day. And the opal ring is definitely in that category, but the tennis bracelet, this is the kind of thing you'd only wear at a fancy dinner, like a charity function or something like that. And we just don't do a lot of that stuff. Don't get me wrong. The price is very fair for what it is, but I'm just afraid that I'm going to buy this thing and she's never going to wear it, and I don't want to spend that money. And she said to me, and this is where the story gets interesting. She looked at me with right in my eye, and she goes, Cliff, you've been a customer of mine for a long time. I consider you something of a friend. Do you mind if I get a little personal with you? And I said, go ahead. And she goes, are you a workaholic? Are you two workaholics? Is that who you are? I looked at her. I said, Judy. She said, no, let me finish. She goes, I've heard you say this before. Every time you come in, it's for daily use. You want something she can wear. But let me tell you something. Don't you people have a life? Don't you people ever have, a life outside of work? Is that all it is for you people? Because let me tell you something about your wife, Cliff, that you don't realize. She's a woman. And I said, well, forgive me, Judy. I may not be the brightest, light tool in the shed, but I think I can figure that. No, I don't understand. Women are dreamers. Women are romantics. We're the people who still read romance novels. Okay, you don't find guys doing that. We like romance. We like the idea that our spouses, our significant others, are going to do things that are wild and that are crazy. Wild or crazy. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure your wife loves you. I'm sure she appreciates every piece of jewelry you've ever bought of her. But quite frankly, if you buy this piece of jewelry, I guarantee you when she opens it, she's not going to be able to speak for a few minutes because it's the last thing that she ever is expecting from her dull, boring workaholic of a husband. And while she's doing this, she's poking me in the chest physically. Really, she was pushing me up against the wall. And, of course, I'm laughing like a kid because I know exactly. By the way, do not try this with strangers. Do not try this with people you do not know. Judy and I have known each other for years, and she kind of knew she could test the waters with me. So she finally got me laughing, and I said, okay, Judy, okay, I hear where you're going. Look, if I buy the tennis bracelet, if she doesn't like it, can I bring it back? Oh, yes, absolutely. In fact, I'll even give you a great deal. So I ended up buying the tennis bracelet. Christmas morning, my wife opens that box, and she could not speak for 15 minutes. She had tears in her eyes. Judy was absolutely right about the whole thing. In fact, she even said something else. She said, Cliff, if you buy this piece of jewelry, you're going to need an excuse to wear it, so you're going to end up doing charity events. You're going to make this world a better place. And you know what? That's exactly what happened. My wife and I now go to a lot of charity balls, and I have bought her a lot more fancy, expensive jewelry and totally impractical jewelry, practical jewelry from Judy, who runs the J. Albert Johnson Jewelry Store in Fairfield, Connecticut on Black Rock Turnpike near ShopRite. I'm sorry, I have to do that. It's in my contract. Bob? All yours.
Thanks, Cliff. Unfortunately, we don't have any time for questions. A couple did come in late, but we are past our time, so we're going to have to end it for today. Just a reminder that if those of you who didn't hear at the beginning, the webinar and the slides will be available within a day or two on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org. Our next webinar 2 weeks from today, October 16th, and the topic is digital marketing, do-it-yourself digital imaging with Bud Freud presenting. So on behalf of SCORE, thank you all for attending our live webinar today, and please fill out the evaluations that will have been sent to you after this. In closing, thanks again, Cliff, for presenting today, and have a nice day, everyone.